Good to have you with us. You're watching The Big Story with me, Avni Raja. Straight on to the top story that we're tracking today. Now, crumbling urban infrastructure and civic negligence have been claiming lives of people across cities. Now, in Hyderabad, a 24-year-old woman lost her life after a concrete slab of Hyderabad Metro rail collapsed and fell on her at Ameerpet Metro station on Sunday. In fact, in Mumbai, TV artist Mauni Roy narrowly avoided a major accident after a huge rock from metro construction work fell on her car near Juhu Circle on September 18th. On September 12th, the 23-year-old techie died while riding a two-wheeler after an illegal AIADMK banner fell on her in Chennai. Subhashi lost her balance and died after she came under a truck. And in Bengaluru, we saw water seeping through metal sheets and entering metro station later in May. The civic body came up with a bizarre solution to fix the leaking metal sheets with glue. Now, these are just some of the instances that we've highlighted at this point, some of the more recent instances, but this is an issue that we've been raising time and time again, and that needs to continuously be raised because there are multiple instances where citizens' lives are put at stake, where people are injured, people have lost their lives simply due to negligence of the authorities. In fact, here's yet another instance of what we've been talking about, and this is breaking news. It's just coming in. A man in Navi Mumbai was severely injured after he stepped on an open wire left on the road. On your screens, you can see the boy walking on the road when he unknowingly stepped on the open wire, causing an explosion, in fact, to take place and injuring him in the process. Sandhya is joining us for more details. Sandhya, first off, take us through the details of this particular incident.
Avni, the incident took place on Saturday morning at around 7 when this 20-year-old man, Jagdish Soni, he was actually on his way to his college, and he, as we can see in the extremely shocking visual as well, that how he stepped on this live wire, this open wire, and we can see that how this explosion took place, which resulted into the man sustaining burns on not only his legs but actually his face also got badly burnt. He was taken to the hospital. In fact, when the incident took place there, the nearby locals, they actually they protested also, because if we talk about those wires as per the prima facie investigation were left open by MSEB employees because they were doing work there, and they were supposed to bury those wires underground, which they did not do. In fact, the locals there have informed that how that work was pending since many days, and that was a disaster which was anyway waiting to happen. Despite that, as far as action against those MSEB employees is concerned, Avni, we spoke to Navi Mumbai police and they have said that how their inquiry is on, but as of now they haven't taken any complaint or any FIR for that matter. Negligence FIR could have been taken, it's not yet taken. The family of the victim here, and in fact the local people are also trying to build up pressure on police, but that's not really resulting into anything. The injured man is still hospitalized.
Right, and Sandhya, but do we have more information about what really that wire was? Why was it left open? Whose responsibility was it actually supposed to be?
MSEB work was going on, and after finishing that work, MSEB employees and those who were actually working on the site, the private contractor people as well, they were supposed to bury those live wires after finishing the work, which they did not do. So this is a clear-cut case of negligence. Which private firm was involved in the at that particular site, and whether or not any MSEB employee was there personally supervising that work, all those questions are yet to be answered by the police, and they are claiming as of now that how they are investigating the case. And as far as the result is concerned, we are talking about an incident which took place on Saturday, and now it's Monday, but still there is no FIR or complaint for that matter.
All right, Sandhya, thanks so much for joining us with those details. Now, let's get to some of the other incidents that we've been talking about, starting with Hyderabad. Now, a 24-year-old woman died after a concrete portion of the wall at Ameerpet station of Hyderabad fell on her on a Sunday. The woman was waiting on the platform of Ameerpet metro station when the incident took place. A sharp-edged portion of the roof collapsed from the second floor and fell on the woman, seriously injuring her. But the woman then succumbed to her injuries while she was being rushed to the hospital. Let's in fact go across to Paul, who's joining us for more details. Paul, this is an absolutely horrific incident here. This woman here completely obviously lost her life in this particular case due to the negligent authorities.
Well, that's right, Avni. In fact, this particular incident happened at the Ameerpet metro station. Very close by, you have an educational hub. It is a place which has a lot of educational institutions, students, thousands of them, in fact, use this particular road, also the metro station for convenience of transport. And this particular incident happened at around 3 p.m. when it was raining heavily yesterday. Monica and her sister, they were there, right there below the metro station, under the shelter of the metro station. They were standing there because it was raining. That is when a part of the surface of the wall actually came crumbling down. There were chunks that could be seen lying on the floor. It came straight crashing onto her head, and due to this, a head injury actually took place, and she was bleeding profusely. Hearing the cries, an auto driver from nearby came and took her in his hands, and then immediately called up the ambulance. By then, people gathered because they were confused as to what exactly happened, because no one would ever expect a structure to crumble, especially a structure that was inaugurated in 2017.
Yes.
It isn't an old dilapidated structure, Avni. It is a new metro wall that was inaugurated hardly 2 years ago. So what is the reason that it is crumbling all of a sudden? Is it bad quality, as it is being questioned now? What is it that the management is going to do about it? Immediately they put out a release. That is, the Hyderabad Metro Rail put out a release. The MD happened to call it a freak accident, and he also went on to say that L&T management is in talks with the family regarding the compensation.
Right.
But the question is, how many ever lakhs you give as compensation? Is that a permanent solution? What is the value for life? Because it could happen to any one of us tomorrow. This young girl had a lot of
Yes.
dreams.
Yes.
Her future, everything is at stake now.
Absolutely,
Her
Paul. If I can
entire
just
life has
interrupt you
come
for
crashing
just
down
a
after
minute.
this
We've
accident.
got Krishna Sagar Rao of the BJP on the phone line with us, and I'm going to put exactly that question to him as well. Mr. Rao, thank you for joining us. Your reaction here, because like we heard my colleague Paul say, that this was called a freak incident and they're in talks for compensation, but obviously that's really not going to help, because this entire family has been destroyed. People have lost somebody they loved, and this is due to simply, we don't know, ignorance, negligence. All of that still has to be figured out.
See, when it happens once, it's called an accident, but when it continues to happen, it is certainly criminal negligence, and especially when people die of this negligence. And metro accidents have been on the rise in Hyderabad. In the last 2 months, we had about 4 or 5 incidents. One incident where the track steel rod has come out. Another where the electric the rods which control the wires has fallen, and now a slab falls on the head of a lady standing below that at Ameerpet station while she's waiting for the rain to subside. And this is atrocious. I mean, the girl who died actually died in vain. I mean, what was her fault? She's a citizen who's paying taxes, and the infrastructure should have been responsibly built. Now, all these things doesn't happen by fluke. It is not a freak accident. It is criminal negligence.
Yes.
BJP holds the L&T, which is the metro contractor, responsible for this death. And we will ensure that we will have a PIL filed against both the government and the L&T, and KTR cannot escape the municipal minister by just saying it is the responsibility of L&T or the metro contractor.
Yes, absolutely. And also, obviously, the other question that arises is like Paul was pointing out, this is a new construction. It's not as if it's many, many years old and it was in a dilapidated state. So the question of quality of construction here also comes into, also needs to be asked.
Certainly. I mean, if it were to happen in any of the advanced nations like, United States or England, the contractor will be sued, the government will be sued. I think in our country, the lack of, the activism in terms of the civil infrastructure, which is not with a standard quality being questioned, or there is no suo moto judicial activism in terms of these kind of deaths, we have problems. And also the slow and very painful judicial process is also becoming a kind of ease for these contractors to do less quality work. And they're not fearful.
Yes. So what are you going to do at this point in time to ensure that those who are responsible are held accountable?
One is we are calling for citizens to be more conscious of these things and go ahead and file criminal cases whenever they find people die on potholes. They should sue the municipal corporation of that particular city. They should sue the chief minister. They should sue the state government, the local governments. If we do that more actively, I think we'll find a solution, because if not today, tomorrow, these people will be penalized and they'll be scared. Number two, what is the enforcement agencies doing? What is the vigilance doing? What is the state government doing? I mean, if we don't hold these people responsible, and that's what BJP is going to do, is we're going to file a PIL. We are also going to raise this in the assembly. Unfortunately, we have only one MLA in the assembly, so our voice is a little lower. But certainly, outside the assembly, we'll make it an issue, and we will ensure the media, creates pressure on this government.
All right, Mr. Rao, thank you for joining us with your perspective. Paul, coming back to you for one quick question here. Has there been any kind of reaction? Of course, you said the metro authorities have said this was a freak accident, but as far as the state is concerned, what's been the response? All right, I think we've lost Paul, but essentially this is the incident as far as Hyderabad is concerned, where this woman lost her life. But let's shift focus to Tamil Nadu, to Chennai, where yet another woman, in fact a 23-year-old student, Subhashri, sparked nationwide anger. This young student lost her life after an illegal banner that was installed by an AIADMK member fell on her while she was driving a two-wheeler. Now, Subhashri lost her balance and died after she came under a truck. Now, the driver of the truck has been arrested. Those who actually erected the banner are still scot-free. Pramod is joining us for more details. Pramod, of course, this is an issue that we've been raising time and time again as far as illegal hoardings, illegal banners are concerned. But this particular incident is now the second death in Tamil Nadu that has happened because of illegal banners, and it has caused a nationwide outrage, especially because those who are actually responsible are still not behind bars.
It surely is. In fact, as you exactly mentioned, Jayagopal, the AIADMK councillor, ex-councillor, is still not yet been arrested. It's 11 days, and since the police claim, even then the police claim that they are unsuccessful in tracing them. In fact, like not just one pot, like for almost a year, we tried to show how keeping banners in unnecessary and senseless spots are dangerous, and still even then it occurred. I'm at one spot, which is at Kottapuram Road right now, just trying to show how even now the authorities are negligent and how this is turning into nothing but another zone where anytime any accident could occur. It seems like the authorities have decided to go ahead and construct these kind of the stormwater drainages near a college and a school during this time. They could have done it during summer holidays where the traffic could have been nil, but no, they decided to go ahead. But the shocking part, what I see here is that this is completely exposed. In fact, even if you could see how people are finding it very difficult to actually even walk around the spot. We are trying to take the same risk now. If we need to walk from this end to this end, we have to battle with commuters and traffic, and this is one situation. But the bigger problem here is that they have not red taped this entire spot. One of the spot is open, and imagine at night if someone is speeding up, they are not going to find the spot, and they're definitely going to meet with an accident. And the third thing I want to show is that those people sitting over there, they are the ones who are working on this spot, and they are not wearing any kind of safety gear. How is the government allowing it? How is the authorities allowing it? We're not sure. But this spot has been like this for the past 7 days, and no action has been taken anyway to make sure that this kind of people do not have to suffer this atrocity.
Yes, absolutely, Pramod. In fact, let's put that to Kovai Satyan of the AIDMK, who's joining us on the phone line. Kovai Satyan, thank you for joining us. I don't know if you can see what my colleague Pramod just showed us at this point. Of course, we are also talking about Subhashree's death, but I want to specifically pick up on that spot where Pramod is. All right, we've lost Kovai Satyan. We will try and reconnect with him. But going back to Pramod, obviously the point that you pointed out at this point, the spot that where you are at, that is really the prime example of this kind of negligence, civic negligence that continuously takes place, and it falls in the same category as the illegal banners and hoardings, which we've seen being a constant problem.
It surely is, because Madras High Court earlier asked this question, put forward this question to the Tamil Nadu government as to why the government has to wait for something to occur, be it a crime or be it an accident. I'm showing this right in front of you. This is actually next to the compound wall of the infamous Anna University. You have a major school next to this place, and the planetarium is opposite to it. And even after all this, imagine such a prominent road in this condition. The workers at this spot are not wearing any kind of safety gear, which means they are prone to accident at any point. And this particular area, which should be cordoned off, a police personnel should be standing over here trying to clear the traffic. None of them are visible anywhere. And what happens is that people are the ones who suffer. This almost two-way lane turned into one-way lane, and the people have to battle and go through to it. Imagine if this started by 4 o'clock, and it'll be like this until 9 p.m. Until that time, the people have to suffer. And who is responsible? There's the name. Perunagara Chennai Managrachi, which means that Chennai Corporation are the people who are supposed to take care of it. And look at the absolute apathy over here. They are just, even there, though the people are working over there, not wearing any safety gear. And this is how Chennai Corporation is doing its work.
Absolutely, Pramoda. Thanks so much for joining us with those details and that particular spot where you're at, which really needs to be highlighted. But let's also shift focus now to the city of Bengaluru, where potholes has been one reason which has resulted in multiple accidents. In fact, just last week, a lady and her 2 children were seriously injured after their scooter hit a pothole and skidded on Bengaluru's Gunjar Road. The 4-year-old girl sustained a deep cut on her forehead. Meanwhile, a seepage in the city's metro station also became a big problem. In May, the rains caused the metal sheets to give way, allowing water to enter the stations. But Bengaluru Metro Rail Corporation came up with a bizarre solution, saying that they will use glue to fix the gaps on a temporary basis. Let's in fact go across to Neha, who's joining me. Neha, obviously citizens are completely fed up with the infrastructure woes they've been facing, with the kind of crumbling infrastructure, with potholes. They've done everything possibly that they can to highlight the issue, and still it doesn't seem to have made that much of a difference.
Well, absolutely, Avni, that's right. You know, it's most unfortunate. We do call Bengaluru the IT capital of the country, but despite that, it's most unfortunate where you see that infrastructure, basic infrastructure is lacking. And what's even more, of course, painful at this point in time is that it is ultimately the hard-earned taxpayers' money that is, of course, really, are not being utilized to its fullest. In fact, joining me now are, some citizens of the city who also, of course, be it commute in the metro, use the roads on a daily basis. Let's get in some voices and find out how they feel about this entire situation. So first of all, tell me, are you happy with the infrastructure in Bengaluru, for starters?
Currently, no, but I've been in this city for, I don't know, easily 8 to 9 years. I love the city, exactly why I'm here. But now it looks like there's a construction overkill that's happening everywhere in the name of making the city better. So wherever we go. So I, anyway, commute by the metro every day. But over and above that, if we go as friends, we go out, we think twice. Where do we avoid potholes, which is, again, it never happens. B, there are no bylanes, there's no alternatives. Especially Koromangala, I think it's crazy out there. I think there's white topping and there's a flyover construction that's happening at the same time. And it's been that way, I think, for the last 6-8 months. So I've not been there. Okay. So because I know I'll be stuck in traffic, though it's hardly like 20 minutes, I take an hour to reach. So I think that's the situation everywhere. So as far as metro is concerned, I think there are cracks. The other day in Indiranagar metro station, it was leaking. which is quite unfortunate. And it's not even that old, right? Yeah. So it's quite unfortunate that it should happen to a city like Bengaluru. So yeah, we're just hoping things get better.
Right. Also now coming to you, somewhere we're given to understand that caught in this entire political turmoil, of the Congress JDS, then you had the BJP, this fight for power has just left the residents, the citizens of the city, the hard-earned taxpayers ignored completely?
Absolutely. If you look at it, I don't know where's my tax money going. If you look at any road, look at Indiranagar today, it's dug everywhere. So, and then they just leave that aside. Nobody's bothered. There are roads that are dug and left. And even if they do a patch-up job, that's not what you're doing. So if you're digging the road, you're paying so much. I believe that there is so much that is paid for relaying the road. It is never done. It's a horrendous job that is done, which will go back in 3 days or tops 1 week. And even if you tar the road, the next day, there's a BWSSB guy or somebody else coming to dig the road again. Yeah. Why don't people wait? If you know there is some problem there, finish it off and then do the tar. And in this whole gamut of who is going to get the money, people are trying to do a lot of things. It's just my money going down the drain. Where's the infrastructure? I don't look at it. Like she was telling, I don't go to Koramangala myself now because it takes 45 minutes to an hour. So you have to go the other route to reach faster. Surprisingly, you go via Vivek Nagar to reach Koramangala faster rather than going via Indira Nagar. So it is horrible everywhere. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, there you have it, Avni. Really on the whole, just fed up citizens, despite having, despite the citizens ideally having to pay taxes. Some areas such as, Mahadevpura also in Bengaluru, which are possibly the highest tax-paying areas, do not even have basic roads, basic infrastructure.
Absolutely, Neha. In fact, let's go across to Sandeep Anirudhan, who's an activist joining me on the phone line. Thank you so much for joining us. Your reaction, because like we've been just talking about, citizens have done a lot themselves in an attempt to highlight this issue, but nothing's changed. On the other hand, we've seen this entire fight for power as far as Karnataka is concerned, which has obviously been at the forefront of everything and put things like infrastructure on a backseat.
Yes, thanks for having me. See, the fight of the citizen is very simple. Governments, one after the other, have been betraying the citizen over the devolution of power, which is the 74th Amendment. It was passed in the 1990s, and I don't see why, after so many decades, governments can't set up the Metropolitan Planning Committee, the ward committees, area sabhas. This is part of our constitution. So, which means every government we had is in contempt of our constitution when they don't set these up. And there's no transparency. How much effort does it take for a city corporation to set up a display board on every public project that's happening?
Yes.
Displaying the contractor's name, contract value, reference. And today it's the IT age. We are the IT capital of the world.
Right.
How much does it take to put all of these up transparently online?
Yes, absolutely.
It just has lack of will.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, thank you so much for joining us with your quick perspective. But of course, more news that's just coming in at this point in time. In the Hyderabad case, the latest that's coming in is that the MD Metro Rail has announced that after discussions with the family of the victim, with L&T, they've decided to give 20 lakh rupees compensation to the kin of the victim. But the question here still remains that no matter how much money you give, a life has been lost, a family has been destroyed. And that is the big question that we leave you with. Across cities, like we've seen, this entire issue of crumbling infrastructure is just getting worse and taking lives. And with that, it's time to wrap up this edition of The Big Story. Thanks for watching.